everyone. Welcome to Hospitality Today Live. And we're so excited if you are joining us again, meaning you're an HTL fan. And if not, this is your first time checking out our show. Well, we are so happy that you are here with us. We have such an incredible list of guests all the way through the end of the year. And today I'm so excited for you to meet Carolyn Nitz. And she is the owner and the manager of First Class Travel. Now, who doesn't want to travel first class, right? Well, Carolyn is here to talk to us about multiple things about the travel industry, starting today's relevant news. She's going to talk about the return to travel, what to expect, not only domestically, but also internationally. And you're going to want to find out where are the hottest destinations where all the business is going to and where you might want to travel next. And when is a good time to plan traveling? And is it safe out there? Along with whatever vaccinations you might have, there's still some updates. So the travel industry gets back on its feet, and you will not want to miss today's episode right here on Hospitality Today Live. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Visibly Media, helping business communicate strategically in print and online, visiblymedia.com. Well, thank you all for joining us here live on this Tuesday, July 6th. We're so happy that you are here with us. And we have our special guest, Carolyn, here with First Class Travel. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're so excited to have you. And I am in particular because I've been a TA before. And wow, has the industry changed or what?
Well, just as a for instance, once upon a time, there were 1,280 travel agents in the city of Phoenix. We're down probably to about 410. And that's in the last 15 years. A lot of things have taken their toll. 9/11 killed us. The internet almost killed us. We're a survivor bunch. We're like the rising phoenix. We just keep coming back. And then the pandemic hit, and that's been really, really tough for a lot of us. So, we're hanging in there. We're gonna come back.
Well, I tell you, I thought the same thing. The travel industry, or the travel agent industry portion, has really had its ups and downs. And whenever there's a crisis that hits, like what has happened in the past year, it does affect the travel agent part of the industry. And that's why you're part of the hospitality industry, because just like us, when things affect us, it affects you as well. But I do see an uptick when it comes to, this portion of our industry, especially for TAs. I was just reading the other day in the July issue of the Travel Agent magazine. And now that the industry is getting back up on its feet very slowly, but it's happening, travel companies and those that do, that cater to their customers really need to pick up their A game, don't you think?
They really need to pick up their A game, and it's almost as though a great many of the hospitality industry have forgotten about customer service. I realize that they have lost untold amounts of money. The cruise industry, hotel industry, you name it, anything to do with travel, they've all lost money. So have we. But customer service is the name of the game. You have got to be able to provide your customer with what's going on, when it's going on, and how it's going on. So you really need to upgrade what you do And when you talk to people on the phone, remember that they are just as stressed as you are. So you need to be kind. You want them to treat you the way you would treat them, and you need to treat them like they are extra, extra, extra special because they called you.
You know, that's a very interesting point because I don't think a lot of people realize coming out of this pandemic how important customer service is. And as a travel agent, owning a prestigious travel agency downtown Phoenix, Arizona, you know what customer service is all about. And it seems as though people are going to be leaning on TAs more than ever because customer service has gone down. And just to give you an example, I was reading an example of this. There was one luxury hotel that did not tell those that were traveling, their customers that were staying at a hotel, that the only restaurant on their property was at the golf course. Now, I know a travel agent that booked that hotel would know these things. And so if they only booked their business through somebody like you go deeper into finding these things out instead of them just going directly as well. And here's another example. Here's one other example. You're almost like a concierge too. There was a client that had an activity booked, but there was no concierge service at the hotel. So the TA had to rebook their activity with other companies. So TAs even come to the rescue many times.
We come to the rescue more than I could tell you. And we don't make anything on rescues, but we do them because that's what makes us different than the internet. I had a client call me at 4:12 in the morning this weekend from Amsterdam because the flight that they were booked on was oversold. They were not going to be able to get on the plane, and they were stuck in Amsterdam trying to get to Bulgaria to her mother's.
Wow.
We had to keep them in Amsterdam an extra day, but I found flights for them. They were pretty well priced. And we got them to Bulgaria, and I've not heard back from them. So I am assuming everything
No news is good news.
well, because they would have called me if it hadn't.
Right.
So,
No news is good news, I would imagine. That's for
yes.
sure. Well, and I know that although you've been hit hard like the rest of the hospitality industry, you're hanging in there. You're not closing shop. You're there and available for those that, want to travel. Do you know when a good time is to start traveling, and is it going to be safe? I'm sure there's a lot of updates within your world that you share with your customers about vaccinations.
There are a lot of vaccination questions. If you have been vaccinated and you've had both doses or the Johnson & Johnson and you're past the 14 days, you can basically go anywhere you want to go. Keep your vaccination card in your wallet or load it on your phone and take it with you everywhere you go. Also, make 2 or 3 copies and put them in strategic spots. Same with your passport if you're traveling internationally. I always tell my clients, make sure you have 2 or 3 copies of your passport, put one in the hotel safe, put one in your pocket, put one in the bottom of your shoe. But whatever you do, travel with the information that you're going to need at your destination. There are a few questions that people have. Let's say you're traveling with a 6-year-old. What do? That's something that the family has to decide, because if mom and dad have been vaccinated and the child is not eligible for vaccine, I would determine that the whole family needs to wear their masks when they travel. And the reason being, they do not want to slough off the virus to their child. Airlines are still requiring masks. that child is not going to feel different if the whole family is wearing their mask. So there are just little things that you need to do. You need to continue to distance. You need to continue to wash your hands. And if you've had your vaccine, carry your card. Several of the borders are starting to open up. We have been put on the safe list for certain countries because the U.S. has done a good job. We're not there yet, but we've done a good job of getting the vaccine into arms. We are being allowed to go into certain places. Germany is opening up. Italy, as long as you've had your vaccine and you're past your 14 days, you have 3 options. You can get your vaccine, you can get a test 48 hours prior to your flight, or you can prove that you've already had COVID or the virus, and those things will allow you to enter into Italy. Spain, if you're from the US, Spain allows you to come in. Greece allows you to come in. There are several countries that are starting to open up. Some of the cruise lines have found that originally they were all going to require vaccines. There are a couple of governors who have said you cannot force people to be vaccinated to get on the ships. When you are sailing from those states, you cannot be forced to have the vaccine, but that's when you call me, because I'm going to tell you what those states are, so that if you want to sail, you can do so if you have not been vaccinated. You know, that's why you call a TA.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you get that update and you get to talk to a live person.
And if we don't have the information, give us an hour, we're going to get it for you.
Right, exactly.
Without you having to go through 15 different websites.
Exactly. See, I don't know why no one really takes advantage of utilizing their resource right here in front of them. And I just love the live person status. And we've got some of your fans here actually asking some questions. We've got Lisa Raymond that actually, has a comment and question pertaining to what you just mentioned about children. Is there an age cutoff for children not to wear a mask?
If they are 12 and older and they have been vaccinated, they're fine. That is still a tentative situation. 16 and up, those are eligible for vaccines anywhere, any day of the week. You can walk into any drugstore and get the vaccine. If you are 16 and you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask.
Okay, good, very good point. Very good point. So, is the domestic destinations going to become more popular, or maybe there's some popular spots that people might want to think?
A lot of people are, yes, a lot of people are doing the United States, and they're driving, they're renting RVs,
right?
They are going by car because they have smaller children and they don't necessarily want them to be looked down on.
Sure.
There are islands. If you want an island experience, you can get that in the United States. Go to Mackinac Island, nothing motorized. They have horse and buggies. It's a really, really good experience for children. You can go to, there are the Golden Isles, and there are several islands that are comprised, St. Simon's. There are just very many destinations, the water parks. There are water parks everywhere. We have one here now. There are several in Texas. There are several in Florida. Those are places where people can take their kids. They can have fun, do what they need to do, and take a vacation.
Sure.
All of us need to be able to take a vacation now and then. And if you don't want to fly, or you want to just fly for an hour or two, go within the United States. There are so many things to see in this country.
There really are.
Nobody else has a Mount Rushmore.
Right, right. Very
But
good point.
us.
Very good point.
So
Now, most of our viewers are in the meetings and events industry, and I'm sure after being with family so close this past year and a half, I'm sure that a lot of family packages are going to be opening up around the meetings and events and conventions and things like that. Are you predicting that they're going to be bringing their families with them to meetings and events and maybe have an extended vacation around that?
I think they will. They'll come in a couple of days early and do their thing with their family, and then perhaps send their family home so that they can attend the convention and the family doesn't feel as though dad or mom are shunning them. Or what a lot of people are doing is they're having their family either accompany them, or when the convention is over, the family flies in, they spend 3 or 4 days, 5 days. They do the sights and the sounds and the experiences that are within the city where the conventions are held. Sometimes they're doing other hotels because maybe the hotel that they are staying in will not accommodate the entire family in a room. Most people don't have a lot of discretionary income, so they will make that a part of their vacation for the summer. Mom and dad will figure out how best to keep their kids happy and see the sights and do. Arizona is a perfect spot because you can stay in Phoenix, you can drive to Flagstaff, you can drive to Sedona, you can go all these places, and never leave your hotel.
Right.
You know, you can keep the same hotel and do these things in a day trip, and it's just so much fun. Go to Tucson, go to Rio Rico, go to and I'm not going to remember the name, but it's where so many shows, Wild West shows, have been filmed. There are just so many things to do in Arizona. California, you can go fly into Los Angeles and go to all of these different things. There are lots and lots and lots of things to do.
Well,
and see our country.
Yeah, totally. And I think, again, since everybody is in the motion of being around their family, this is good news because they're going to be able to keep that connection with their family by bringing them along on those trips. And I think that's really key. I think that's really key.
I think it's important to show their family that they're not just about work. They are about having a good time, showing the family where they can go. Renting a car, like I said, you can rent a car, stay in the same hotel, or if you want to travel around the state, you can go north 3 hours and stay for a day or two, and then go east and 6 hours and then stay for a day or two. It's a way to see the country that so many people have always decided they didn't need to do. They could go to Italy, they could go to France, they could go to Germany, they could go all of these international destinations when we have one of the most wonderful countries in the world for things to do.
Right, exactly. Good point. Now let's talk about the airline industry, part of the hospitality industry. And it seems as though the airlines had to hold a lot of tickets from this past year. I know I've got several, I guess you call it, in the vault.
Exactly. They're certificates that or credits that are good for travel. The majority of them are going to expire on the 22nd of March of next year.
Okay.
Some airlines will extend them all the way to the end of December. What's happened is during the pandemic, a lot of if an airline changed the flight schedule, you were eligible for a refund. If they did not change the flight schedule, but the destination was closed, you get a credit, which you then can use. And because they've wiped out the change fees, if you had a $300 ticket, you now have a ticket worth $300. Before, you had a ticket worth $100 because there was a $200 penalty. They've wiped those out. And they're saying, and we'll see, that those penalties are not going to come back. They're going to leave the ability to change a ticket on the fly alone. You have to pay a little bit more airfare if the airfare has gone up, but you don't have to pay the penalties. So let's say you had a ticket to go to Chicago. You couldn't go because the convention was canceled. So you have a $458 ticket, which has a $458 value. What's really nice is that ticket is valid anywhere that airline flies. So if American goes to New York, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, that ticket is good for anywhere that they fly.
Okay. And so is it possible if somebody had questions pertaining to all of this or needed help, is this where a TA comes into play as well? Even if you didn't book a ticket?
What happens is you have to book with an airline using the same confirmation code or ticket number as the credit. So you call me, I charge you a small service fee, but I sit on hold for an hour and a half or 2 hours. I talk to the agent at the airline. You tell me what you want to do, and I do it for you so that you don't have to disrupt your day. That's what I do for a living. So I'm going to call the airline. I'm going to call the hotel. I'm going to call your destination and do whatever you need in place of you, and you can go on about your business and do your daily thing.
That's a good thing to know. And you know, the airline industry is changing all the time. I was just reading in the Wall Street, the Chicago-based United Airlines is just, their growth is just going to be huge. As a matter of fact, their jet fleet order is about 270 Boeings and Airbuses are coming on board. So they're expecting a huge surge of travel.
And what is nice is once those aircraft begin to ship to United, they're going to retire some of the really old crafts. But what's even nicer for the traveling public, the bins, the overhead bins are going to be large enough so that your rolly, which you had trouble fitting.
Yes.
Because nobody wants to pay to check a bag.
Right.
So the airlines are making those bins large enough that if you want to take your roller bag and put it in the bin overhead, it's going to fit now.
Wow.
They have made nice seats. Just everything about the aircraft are now client driven, passenger driven, as opposed to the way it used to be, which was airline driven.
Right.
And I think that all of the airlines are going to do this because they want to entice the traveling public back. They want to. What's happened currently is the airlines had to cancel so many flights, and they're bringing more online every day. But there were 128,000 changes per day to what aircraft were doing before. What's happening now is everyone has become more passenger savvy. They know what people want. They are trying very hard to do what the passenger needs as opposed to what the airline needed.
Yeah.
What passengers need to realize is that not as many aircraft are flying, and they don't have as much personnel. A lot of people have retired. They had the ability to do that. They've had to hire more TSA people because there were so many of them let go during the pandemic that those are coming on board. They have to be trained. Flight attendants, pilots. Right. So many people have to be trained. It's just like the trucking industry. Airline industry is the same. They have to train these people so that they know what you want as a flying passenger.
Well, let me ask you this, Carolyn, because of all these changes and the lack of, labor and everything. Mm-hmm. Don't you believe, and I want your honest opinion and your perspective, don't you believe the behaviors of customers on planes have become irresponsible. And I'm sure you've heard all the stories and everything. What should be done about something like this? Because it's really gotten a little out of hand, don't you think?
It's gotten out of hand. And unfortunately, that's a result of the pandemic. People have got pent up resentment against God, country, airlines, you name it. They have spent the last year and a half penned up in their rooms, and they want to get out. And unfortunately, give them one or two drinks. Whether most of the airlines have stopped serving alcohol on board the aircraft, but you can still go to a bar. You can still go, and you're being asked to show up at the airport 2 to 3 hours ahead of time because TSA is slow. That people will do what people do, and that's sitting in a bar and drink 2 or 3 drinks. They get on an aircraft, and then they think it's okay to abuse the guy sitting next to them, to abuse a flight attendant, to abuse whoever comes in contact with them, because they've had no rules for the last year.
Right.
They've been sitting at home, and so now it's like they've busted open all of the resentment comes pouring out, and that resentment comes out in the form of bad behavior.
Right.
And I think the airlines are going to have to watch it a little more carefully. If you've been drinking, I don't think they're going to let you on the aircraft.
Right. I think the rules are going to get more stricter because of this, and rightly so, because we're all trying to do is get from one destination to the other and make it a nice experience.
And it should be an enjoyable experience.
Right.
It should not be an abusive experience. And I think that what's going to happen is more airlines are going to do what the airline did last week, where they landed, they took the abuser off the plane, and then they took off again. And everyone clapped. They were so proud of the pilot for knowing to do this.
Yes.
And I think that the airlines, like you said, the airlines, as well as cruise lines, as well as Uber drivers, they're all going to be more in tune with what the passenger needs. And if the passenger is abusive, they don't need that kind of a passenger.
Yeah, it should be zero tolerance. And speaking of cruises, we actually have a question about that. How is the cruise travel industry holding up? Because as we know, the cruise part of the industry had a $30 billion hit, the worst of any section of the hospitality industry. And the Travel Agent Central news actually reported the Princess and the P&O cruises in and out of Australia have been canceled until December. Is this going to continue on? Are they going to be the last one to come back into being up and running, or what's your thoughts on this? The cruise
They're going to come back in stages.
Okay.
The cruise industry is going to start sailing to the Caribbean, because a lot of the hotels and the destinations are opening up. The ports in Florida are starting to open up a little at a time. They're not opening every port to every ship. Unfortunately for the traveling public, the cruise lines are using some of their larger ships so that they can put more people on board. Texas is opening up some of their ports. Alaska, for the first time in a year and a half, is open to the traveling public. The larger ships, they are bypassing Canada because Canada's borders have been closed. So you can sail out of Seattle, but you will bypass Canada. Which is kind of nice for a lot of people, because before, if the ship stopped in Canada, you were required to have a passport. You don't have to have that if you're just sailing from a U.S. port to a U.S. port. So they're doing 5 cruise lines have opened back up for Alaska: Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Holland America, Princess, and I'm going to have to refer to my notes because I don't remember what the 5th one is.
It goes on and on and on.
Norwegian Cruise Line. Gosh, I can't forget
There's a
that.
lot of them out there.
But they are opening back up. I have clients on their ships, and they're sailing a little bit later in the year, always before the 3rd or the 10th of September. Cruises were done in Alaska. Now some of the cruise lines are even going into October. You must have your vaccination. Alaska is requiring that you have your vaccinations and that they are at least 14 days old. But if you have those, you can cruise.
Yeah, well,
and they've got some really good deals.
That is a wealth of information right there. I can't imagine anyone going on a trip right now without, contacting their local TA, if not you. So I have one more question before the end of the show. So what is the one tip that travelers need to keep in mind no matter where they travel, domestically or internationally? What's that one tip that you would like to share?
Two things, actually, and they go hand in hand. If you're going to travel internationally, please make sure you have 6 months left on your passport and that you have a valid passport, and your vaccination card is going to be required by a great many cities, countries around the globe.
You're better off being prepared.
Make sure that you have those things.
Good. Love it. So if anybody wants to contact you to further this conversation, which I can't imagine no one not doing, how can they contact you? I know we have your email address.
My email address on right there. They can contact me that way, and I check my emails almost 24/7. They can call me, and I can give you a phone number, 602-677, excuse me, I'm giving you my cell number, 602-266-7300, or I've got an 800 number, 800-545-1222. Please send me an email, call me. It doesn't matter. I'll help you out, whether you're traveling today. If you're going to go to an international destination, we should be booking for 2022 right now.
I totally agree with you.
Everybody knows that by next year, things are going to open up and we need to do it right now.
Travel Revenge is on its way. And I know that everybody can just Google you too at First Class Travel, which I love that name. So I want to thank you so much for joining us, Carolyn. That was a wealth of information. I know we could have talked all day long.
I loved it.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much again. Appreciate you being here.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you go. Now, if you're not familiar with the travel agent industry, by all means, call Carolyn and talk to her about it and get to know what it's all about and how it can save you not only time, but money at the same time. And you've got firsthand knowledge right there at your fingertips. Take advantage of it. And I guarantee you, she will be answering her phone or email. So that way you do have a live person. So if you enjoyed this episode, by all means, we're going to be sending the replay out there as well, and share the conversation, share the video right here too, to especially catch her phone number as well, because we didn't get that on the screen as quickly as we wanted to. We want to thank our sponsor, Visibly Media, as usual, that really does a great job for us throughout the year. And if you have any questions or any comments or want to be on the show in 2022, by all means, contact us at hello@hospitalitytodaylive.com. So let's talk about next Tuesday. I bet you'd like to know. Well, looking for a new way for attendees to interact or engage. Do you want a creative boost to your meetings and events? Well, you're not going to want to miss the founder of Pickles. And we're talking about Chris Bent. It's all about finding out what Pickles is all about. How is Pickles going to change the meetings and events industry? And also, if you want to know your superpower of creativity and how we all can grow from it, well, you're going to want to know how to do that within your organization or your company. just by learning what Pickles has to offer for meeting and event industry. So don't miss our episode next Tuesday, same time. I'm Deborah Gardner, and thank you so much for joining us. And remember, if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it right here on Hospitality Today Live. Have a great week, everybody.